Hey there, folks. I'm Matt Hansen,
And I'm John Johnson.
and you're listening to
Planes, Trains, and Comic Books.
the podcast where we discuss favorites we've reread, both classic and new comics we want to read, and everything else in between.
And here's the comic we picked this week.
Hey everybody, Matt here from Planes, Trains, and Comic Books. Just wanted to let you know that this is a Patreon episode actually, and it's from last year. And if you would like to join our Patreon to get access to all these awesome episodes, you can join at patreon.com/Planes, Trains, and Comic Books, all one word. And with that, let's get into it. Today, we are checking out a property that's well known as far as the movie that's based on it, but I don't think most people have read this comic. And so we were luckily enough, we were able to find a copy of it on a certain website of ill repute, we'll say, for comic books, one of those scan sites. But I can't find it in print anywhere else, so I was like, fuck it, we'll just read it on this. And if they ever come up with a copy of the printing of it, I will definitely buy it. But John, what did we read this week?
I think we read one that I also didn't know was based on a comic book. I knew that there was a cartoon, but I think that also came out like right after the first movie.
Yes.
But we're doing the Man in Black.
Man in Black.
Galaxy Defenders. Yeah. so yes, we read the Men in Black 3 issues only. 3-issue comic.
Yes.
So like that was surprising. Matt's giving me the rundown on this when he's telling me about it. I'm like, whoa, there's only 3 issues, like complete.
Well, no,
like, okay.
For the first story arc, there is 3 more issues in the second volume of it or whatever. But
okay.
The first volume that came out was 3 issues. So, and yeah, it is a black and white comic from the, I want to say early 90s, but let me double check before I say that. Yeah, 1990, January 1990. So we'll say it possibly came out in 89 because usually the dates are 3 months ahead. So within 5 years of it coming out, it got a movie. That was a very large, major Hollywood movie that I loved as a child. And
it's still got its moments. It's fun.
I love that movie. I still love that movie. There's nothing wrong with that movie. Okay. I stand by it.
The way you said, like, I loved as a child.
No, I just meant like it was like I loved that song. I remember this is how old I am, and it's not very old, but still. I remember being a kid, calling the radio station where I lived, asking them to play the Will Smith song from Men in Black, and they did. And I had to sit there and like listen to it, wait for them, 15 minutes later to play it. I was like, hell yeah. So, yeah, that is how old I am. Whatever.
And that's first taste of real power.
Yes, exactly. So much more to be had in my life, of course. So. But yeah, I like the cover of this book. If I saw it on the shelves, I would definitely pick it up. It's got like in the background, there's like one of the agents in his glasses and everything. He's holding his shotgun, and then there's like a woman who looks like she's, I don't know, in fear, or she's like tearing at her skin or something. I don't know. And she's in like underwear. I'm like, cool. I would totally buy that. But it's by a company called Aircell. Do you know anything about Aircell, John?
No, I've never heard of them before this.
Okay. They were like if you wanted to get a comic published, but you had no writing credits and no art credits, you could probably get it published at Aircell as like your first works. And a couple like people did. I think Sam Keith got his start at Aircell, who's like a very famous comic book artist. And then like he did the Max, and he did a couple Wolverine stories that are really well known. What else did he do? He's done a lot of stuff. He did a lot of covers. He did some Spawn stuff and whatnot. But very popular artist. And then a lot of other people have too. They tend to publish kind of anything, I'll say. If it looks like it might sell, you're good enough to draw for like a comic, but you're not good enough to be in Marvel or something. You need to develop your storytelling skills. Aircell's the place for you. Of course, they're not around anymore, but they're a Canadian company, possibly. I think I'm pretty sure. So that might also have something to do with it. But you probably haven't heard of many of their titles. They were kind of just known, like I said, for publishing first works of people. And I should say the writer of this comic is Lowell Cunningham with the art is by Sandy Carruthers. And I haven't heard of either of them. So this must be Lowell's first and only comic that I can think of, because I've never seen his name anywhere else. But yeah, like it starts off pretty much in a very different, like it's similar to the movie. If you think of the movie when you read this, it's very interesting because it starts off similar, at least like the place setting and stuff. So the movie starts off in the deserts of America, right on the border of Mexico, right? And it's like Tommy Lee Jones pulls over a truck and he's like, "Oh, you have aliens here," and we think they're talking about illegal aliens, but they're talking about space aliens that are illegal, kind of thing. So this starts off in the same kind of thing where we're dealing with border patrol stuff, but this is like drug dealers instead of illegal aliens. And it turns out that the Men in Black don't only fight aliens in the comic books. In this first issue, they fight drug dealers. So they're kind of like a cover all your bases agency, I guess.
Yeah, that really surprised me. Like I'm like, when are the aliens showing up?
I thought the same thing. I'm like, where the fuck are the aliens? Who are these drug dealers or whatever?
And I kept waiting for that. I was like, okay, they're doing this because one of these drug dealers, like the head guy, is an alien, something like that.
You're waiting
the drug that they're talking about is some brand new drug. It's a really bad drug. It's
called Berserk.
Berserk. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's like, we're going to find out it's like extraterrestrial or something. And nope.
And not only that, it's like it's administered by like a shaman and a tribe. So it's like drug dealers that are very traditional, I guess you'd say. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they do sacrifices of people while giving people drugs to like rip other people apart, because taking berserk makes you go berserk, obviously. And so like the reason why the Men in Black are there looking for these people is because of the drug, of course. But also there was an agent that got captured by them, and they tore. His name was Carl North, and they gave drugs to one of their followers, and that person tore this guy apart. And so so that's why like Kay and his partner are looking out for these drug dealers. So in the process of that, they find a different set of drug dealers, I guess, that are also very bad, because of course there's multiple factions of drug dealers, right? And I don't remember what the guy's name is, but he finds Jay, the guy who ends up being Jay. And he's like undercover with these drug dealers. And Kay is like, I don't give a fuck who this guy is. Let's just go in and kill him. And the current partner of Kay is like, hold on, he's part of an agency. We probably should, try to hold off, or at least figure out, if he's on our side or not. Turns out he is. So Kay just drives down there and runs into their little laboratory where they're making all the drugs, and blows the cover of that agent, but also kills. There's like a standoff or whatever with the two drug dealer guys, and he kills them. I was very sad that they don't use space alien weaponry in this. What about you, John? He uses a shotgun.
Yeah, they look a little more fancy than like a normal one, I guess. But they're definitely like, none of them seem otherworldly. Even when like we will get to some aliens, but
yeah,
even the ones used against aliens are not like otherworldly seeming.
No. The only otherworldly thing is they do have the neuralizer. That is directly from it.
It's true, but also the neuralizer to me in this, it was more like a flashlight. It was like,
you turn it on and off, but it still does the same thing.
Sure, I know. I guess I like I'm so used to the movie version.
Well, yeah, no shit. They made it cooler. They made it very cool. Yeah, the neuralizer just literally looks like an old school like D battery flashlight from Walmart or something. and you like flash it in someone's face, and it does exactly like it does in the movie, where they forget what's going on, and then you can tell them whatever story you want, and they believe it. So, I guess does Kay's partner, does he die in this, or do they? He retires. That's what it was.
Yeah.
So he retires after they get Jay and take him out of there. And Jay is very like, he's the narrator of the comic, so he's like the first person. So that's kind of like the movie too, where it's all about Will Smith. You know, he's the main character, and Kay is kind of trying to convince him to become part of the Men in Black. But he doesn't really give him an option in this. He's like, either you become a Men in Black, or like we just kill you out in the desert because you were with them, and who gives a shit if if you get killed. But like, also we want you to be in our agency. So like, choose which would you choose, John? Death or Men in Black? You know?
Yeah, Men in Black, I guess.
Yeah. So, they do pretty much just like the movie. They do the whole, like, okay, you accepted. We're gonna like erase your fingerprints. We're gonna update your file so it does say that you were killed in that shootout we just had, but you were like, you died a hero and not like, an undercover guy or something. Excuse my dog if you can hear him in the background. He is barking for some fucking reason. Anyway, so yeah, like he gets his fingerprints burned off and all that stuff, and then like now they're on to the other drug dealers, like the big baddies, the ones that are doing these killings and selling berserk. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much like the rest of this thing is them going, this first issue is them going to where these big bads are, supposed to be. And then like Kay does the thing where he like betrays Jay, and he's like, well, Jay, why don't you go look into that building over there? And then like Kay drives off and lets him get lets Jay get kidnapped. And then he follows the kidnappers to where they're doing the ceremony. And they do the same thing again, where like the drug dealers are like, oh, we have an agent here, woman of our follower or of our fellowship, like eat some berserker or berserk, whatever it is. I don't know, mushroom or drugs or whatever. And, rage out and kill this guy. So there's a big fight scene where she's like going crazy, trying to kill Jay. And the only thing he has on him is a neuralizer. And he flashes that at her, but it doesn't do anything, I guess, because she's so high. And then at the very last moment, Kay drives in and shoots her with a shotgun, and then kills pretty much everybody else there too. So like, I didn't quite understand how he defeated the main bad guy. Like I thought he shot him in the back, because it looks like he's got the gun pointed right at the main drug dealer dude's back. And there's like a crack sound, and I thought, oh, did you like break his neck, or did you shoot him? And it was like, no, he just kicks him down. But then later he shoots a bunch of people, and then he throws the berserk, or he says to the followers, he's got all the berserk. You should get it from him. He's got it all, or whatever. And then like his followers go crazy, and because they're like addicted to it, and they like tear him apart and beat him to death. Yeah. So that's how they defeat the bad guys, the drug dealers. Oh, and he like, I guess he lights him on fire as well. Like, I guess they land in the fire at the ceremony when they're beating the leader to death, and they all burn alive. So it's pretty hardcore. You can like, it's black and white, so it's not super vivid, but there's like skeletons burning in the fire as they walk away, saying like, good job, Jay and Kay, like, like pretty fucked up, I would say. But it's an indie comic from the 90s. So I guess, it's what's going to happen. And, that's what you got to do to like separate yourself from Marvel, right?
Yeah. You got to, try to have some kind of like crazy factor to it. And like I said, like this first one, like, and I guess maybe that's because we have our prerequisition of like what we were kind of expecting.
Your preconceived notions.
Preconceived notion, yeah. I'm sorry, preconceived notion about like how this was going to be, and like I said, as we go into this, like we will see some things now, like we start to see like, okay, like now we see how the things are connected to like what this property turned into.
Yes.
But this definitely like this seems more run of the mill, and like so far, like reading that first one would be like, what? How this was made into a
Yeah,
movie?
how did this get made into a movie? I don't know. But I was telling John before we started talking that this is like one of the more faithful adaptations, at least to the spirit of the comic, I guess. In fact, making the comic better than it was. But they like take direct quotes from issue 2 specifically because that's the one that deals with aliens. And there's like multiple times where they quote exactly what happens in the movie they do. And I was like, that's ridiculous. Like there's like Constantine had shittier translation from the comic than this does. So I was kind of surprised that they were so faithful, even though they did change a lot of stuff. You know, obviously they made it better, I feel, story wise, because these are, like we said, 3 separate stories. They could have just made like one solid story. Maybe even loosely connected them, right? Like maybe they find Berserk and it turns out it's of alien substance. Then in the next issue 2, it's about aliens, but that's where the Berserk came from. And then issue 3, you know, like it would all tie together somehow, right? Maybe the issue 3 is about like Satanism and like the satanic panic stuff. And so you could have like the group of drug dealers that are doing this drug. It turns out it was like a satanic group, and that's how they tied together. Like you could have done something like that. But they did not, the original writer at least. So also I'm really glad in the movie they didn't go into all that other stuff. They just stuck with aliens, which makes the most sense as to why you would have Men in Black, right? Like why would you have this agency unless it was for something like that you couldn't do with any other agency? And I feel like the ATF has the drug side, and you know the FBI and whoever has the like satanic panic side. So so the aliens would be the only thing that really need to be covered, right?
Yeah, that's it. I was gonna say, so like with this first one, like, yeah, that seemed odd because it seemed like there's already before the K gets there, or when he's like scoping him out. There's oh, who's that guy down there? Oh, he's with another agency. Yeah, that's because they already have an ATF
Right.
that looks into these kind of things.
Yeah, they're already on it. So why are you here?
What are you guys doing? Exactly. So
yeah. So like we said, the second one is about aliens, and it starts off basically with Edgar from the movie. And spaceship lands at his farm. He goes out and he's like, "Oh my God, Myrna, it's them again!" Like, and I guess he's seen them before. He's telling them, or like they land and talk to him. It's a bug, just like in the comic, except it's more like a praying mantis ant thing than a cockroach. And also, there's the literal line where they say, "We want your rifle," and he says, "You can have it when you pry it from my cold dead fingers." And the alien says, "That is acceptable." And so that's just like from the movie, except in the movie, the bug kills him immediately, but in the comic, he does not die. And it's kind of like interesting because the alien, we'll get to it. We'll get to the end of it at the end of this issue, but the alien does something it's like subverts what you think is going to happen, which is kind of cool. But like, you know, the movie just is so creepy and stuff. I only had that in my mind. We get a pretty sick early 90s martial arts scene, like training montage between K and J. And they're both wearing like really short kimonos, which is fun. Or I guess it's like a gi, but because it's black and white, like it looks like Jay is wearing no pants. And so it kind of looks like a short kimono or something, or like a bathrobe or something. But yeah, they do like a whole training montage thing or sequence where like, you know, K is beating up Jay and he's taking him into the headquarters. I guess he hasn't gone to the headquarters fully yet. He does a training session and they're like, "All right, like we can go to the headquarters and stuff. Let's get dressed." And then there's like a shower scene, which I thought was pretty weird. Just like 2 very hairy chested men taking a shower, talking to each other as you do.
Taking a shower.
Yeah. As you do.
You know, they're like a big team, so you know it's like a communal shower, I guess.
Yeah. And so yeah, they actually get in their car, and then that car gets on a helicopter, which I thought was funny because when they show the helicopter next to the car, it doesn't look nearly big enough to hold that car. And then there's a panel where it's like driving into the back of it. It's like, okay, we're not caring about size and perspective in panel per panel, as you go along, I guess. But it's really hard to draw machines, so like vehicles and helicopters. So I give them a pass on that kind of shit. But yeah, so they, hear about this guy who was talking about aliens and shit. So they go there. What's the guy's name? His name's not Edgar in this.
It's Horace and Moira, I believe.
Myrna,
pardon me.
Yeah. So Horace is still alive when they get there. He points a shotgun at them. Now, see, I thought, it's gonna be like he was taken over by the bug, just like in the comic or like in the movie, but he's gonna have stayed with his wife or something, So like he's not doing the like looking for a planet thing, or looking for a galaxy thing. But it's not. It's just Horace, and he's saying like, "Oh yeah, those guys were here." Then K flashes, or is it J? Yeah, I guess J flashes them with the neuralizer. Tells them like it was just swamp gas. Stop talking about it. Go on a vacation. And there is the scene, just like in the movie. It's not quite like the movie, but not exactly what Will Smith says. But when he flashes Myrna, and he's like, why don't you go on a cruise, have a good time, relax, or whatever, just like he does in the movies. That's what I'm saying. Like, there is nothing in this comic. It's 3 issues long, and they still paid pretty damn good homage to what's in this comic. I'm very surprised that they actually took beats from it and put it in that movie so, like, close to what's in the comic. I just can't believe it. Especially for a property like that. They don't give a fuck about big properties or other properties. But Men in Black, we gotta stick to that script, goddammit. So so yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, he does the whole like, go get yourself pampered, have a good time. So it turns out that there's aliens, so that the families inside, they know like or they're like, still neuralized or whatever. And then they're kind of preparing for the bugs to come back, or the aliens to come back, and they're still in the house. And that's where we see maybe the only like kind of exaggerated gun. There's like what is obviously based on a shotgun, a little bit bigger, but Kay pulls that out, and he's like, we're waiting for these aliens. And then surprisingly, or I guess not surprisingly, because they wait just like they're supposed to, the aliens return, and they come, they land, they come to meet J and K, and it turns out that the alien was like he's very literal. He's like Drax or something. We're like,
I did like this. So the bugs are called the proximants because they're punctual.
Yes, and they're punctual, and they took Horace literally for his word. So when he said, "You can have this gun over my cold dead body," they were like, okay, we'll wait till you die of natural causes and then take your gun.
Yeah, they went home and they got like a thing signed by their commander or something. It's like, hey, so we have an official document now. Like, that gun's ours when you die.
Yeah, that's pretty much what they did. So, yeah, like it's kind of silly, but kind of subverts expectations, and it's kind of fun, especially if you're reading it from the movie, having seen the movie already. But yeah, so basically they explain that like, oh, they're like in some kind of like interstellar war, and there's like a famine going on in their place, and if they don't bring back a gun, I don't know why. I guess it's like trinkets for their king or some shit. They will all die, and it'll be like genocide. So Jay is like, oh, do you need like his rifle, or do you just need a weapon, or like a human weapon? And the alien's like, oh, any gun will do. So like, he pulls out his semi-automatic, whatever pistol he's got, and takes the bullets out, and then gives the alien the empty gun.
And I like why, because they have a scavenger hunt basically that they're
but he's talking about genocide, so I'm not sure what the scavenger hunt and the genocide have to do with each other. But it was like, if I don't bring back a gun, there will be a genocide. But also,
for that's everybody goes out to find something. So their item to find was I guess some kind of weapon, and that's what they have to bring back. And if they don't bring it back, then they will die.
Oh, okay, I got you. I misunderstood, I guess. It's kind of a roundabout, conclusion or like a storyline there. So
yeah.
But yeah, so they fly off with the gun and they're like, "Thank you," and then like Jay is like, "See, we don't need to always shoot first. Like we could talk it out." And Kay's like, I don't know about that, but I guess you did okay, partner." So yeah, that is the end of the first one, and I don't know. There's one little scene at the very end, the last panel, where Kay calls Jay babykins.
But yeah.
Like, all right.
All right. But that's the aliens now. So at least we got some aliens.
Yeah, we got some aliens. And I will say, everything from that issue was pretty much in that movie.
That's true.
I will say that. They embellished a lot in the movie, but there was a lot of stuff that was true to the movie in that. Even the first issue with the initiation of him, getting his fingerprints burned off and shit, that was all in the movie as well. So now we get the one that's like nothing from the movie, or nothing in the is from this is in the movie, and that's issue 3. And this one deals with the Satanic Panic, and basically it starts off with some kids in Ohio playing D&D. They roll a magic die, and it's like part of the game says like, oh, you have to roll a 7 or higher, and then a demon will appear and it will wreak havoc for 15 minutes. And then when they do that, they roll a 7 and the demon appears and out of the board, I guess, and wreaks havoc around the neighborhood, like murders people and shit. And the kids think it's pretty cool. They're like, man, this is fucking awesome. So of course, I guess, the men in black deal with weird stuff. So they get called to go take on this demon. I don't think they know it's a demon, but they just know something happened over here that was bad in Ohio. And we get like something that wasn't in the movie. Is this in the later movies? I don't know. I haven't seen them enough. It's like the tube transport.
Yeah, I think the tube transport is in the second movie. They definitely do something where they go in like some kind of like,
it's like a vacuum tube. It's like Futurama tubes.
Tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe like a bobsled vacuum tube or something. But yeah, so they take these things and they go, I guess, to where their car is. I don't know if it goes to a parking lot or whatever. They don't really show the outside of the building they're in, like the headquarters of the Men in Black. It's always just kind of looks like a warehouse. You're only going to certain rooms inside of this place. It's never like the actual headquarters. But I guess they must be at the headquarters, or they knew that they're going to need to be in Ohio because they pull up their car, and when they push a button in it and it transforms the car into an Ohio state trooper car. So like, I guess they knew they were going to need to go to Ohio with that car.
Yeah. I thought the button was going to be like fast speed to get them there.
Yeah, me too. Right. I thought that too. They do show like Kay driving crazy, like to miss a squirrel and stuff. So like, yeah, there's a bit like that in the movie, right? There's a little bit of that. So they go to this neighborhood, they see all the havoc. The cops don't know what's going on. They're like, the cops are like, the kids are saying there was a demon, but that's crazy talk. And then like they neuralize them and say like, no, it was a weather balloon or it was a tornado. That's what it was. And a tornado came through the neighborhood. Can't you see all the destruction? And so the cops think that's what it is. That's what one of the things they don't have in the movie that's in this is they turn a neuralizer on from their car. So like the lights of the police siren, I guess, flash the neuralizer throughout the neighborhood. So like they can just talk to everybody all at once and they're all going to be neuralized with the same story and everything. So, and they do the same thing when they go to the house where this originated. And they see a mom sitting on the ground, like freaking out in front of a smashed pile of game table and children, I guess, right? Some of the kids are alive, right? But one of them did not make it. I don't know which one it was, but maybe the kid that rolled the dice. But they try to comfort her, and like they say, like when they change the story to it was a tornado, the mom freaks out again because she's like, what, a tornado hit my house? And then she sees the pile of rubble on top of a blood stain, underneath or whatever. She's like, oh my God, my baby, the tornado. And it's like, She's got to relive the same fucking trauma twice because of that. I thought that was pretty fucked up, actually, reading this. And yeah, so then we get like, they go to the car and there's like another big gun. This one looks a little bit more futuristic tech kind of thing. It looks kind of like I don't know, like a big staple gun or something. Like it shoots a big, I guess it's like a horseshoe kind of thing. It shoots it.
Yeah.
Like a backward staple. It flies around, hits multiple people with one shot. They end up finding the other half of the kids that were actually, maybe it's a different set of kids. Yeah, that's what it was. There was a different set of kids playing this game. The demon got out of their house and ran across the street and killed the kid that lived in that place. So, because the K and J go to the actual gaming kid's house and they're still alive playing the game, and they were like thinking it's pretty cool. Lots of stuff about demons and stuff. And I was trying to figure out if he was actually like the writer of this was against D&D or something, or if he's like doing a parody of it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because I couldn't quite place it. I couldn't tell if he was being serious about like Satan coming out of games and stuff, or if he was like making fun of the people who believe that. So maybe he could have made it a little clearer, but I just took it as parody because that seems to be the best way to read it, I guess, because it's not a serious comic, obviously. So
Yeah.
it's not a chick track or something. So, but yeah. So I don't know. They talk to the kids. They figure out, oh, the dice is what brought the demon here. So Kay rolls the dice. The demon, he rolls a 12, so the demon comes out and tries to eat him. And is actually kind of scared for a second. Like he was all cocksure at first, but then once the demon grabs hold of him, he's like, "Oh my God, Jay, help me out!" And Jay comes in the door with that big ass gun, and he shoots it. I don't know. It looks like, so there's a big horseshoe on top, but then also there's missiles that fly out from underneath. So I don't know.
Yeah. And they said that they're like semiconductor short circuit. It's magic. The little shafts.
Oh yeah. They said like, yeah, electricity will short circuit magic, and that's why this gun apparently shoots some kind of electric field thingy. So yeah,
And that's how they'll win.
yes, and yeah, they tell the kid like a tornado happened, or they tell the kids, you know, hey, a tornado happened. Stop fucking around with this magic shit, and that's the end. That's the end of the third issue. So, John, after reading that and seeing the movie, what did you think and what would you give it?
This is definitely one where I like the movies better than
I will say one of the few instances, this is Matt Hansen talking here, where the comic is not as good and not even nearly as good as the movie.
And that's huge for Matt too, because Matt is always on the like, it was all right, but the comic's better. And I would say like I'm kind of like 50-50 now that I've been getting back into comics with you on our podcast. But yeah, this one was like, it wasn't bad. It was just different. It was weird. It was, again, it was like we got one thing of aliens in it and we see the things that they picked from it, but it's weird. Like I tried to look up like sales for this and I didn't really find anything. I don't know how or why this was picked up. And I would really like,
Ninja Turtles.
Really
I'm going to go on a limb and say Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles.
Because Ninja Turtles is an indie black and white comic. And I would imagine that after that took off and made $1 billion at the movie theater, or a bunch of money, at least at the movie theater. There's a show and all that stuff. They were like, let's buy all the cheap black and white properties we can and try to make them into movies. And
yeah.
Black and White, and Men in Black somehow became better than the comic.
Because I was looking up, like you said, a little bit more about Cunningham, and like, you know, he was a security guard when it got picked up, and it just says that, you know, he basically got, you know, money for that and was living off of that until the, you know, the sequel movies and whatnot. And then like his body of work, he did some like a little bit of fill-in for like Alien Nation stuff. Okay. And then all Men in Black stuff. And then in 2012, he did try to do a brand new one that was his ode to like the golden age of comics. And it was called Jack Ooze. It's about a district attorney who gets thrown into a vat of chemicals. And let's just say some heroes are brewed. That's the tagline.
Wow.
It's from what is this? About Comics or About? I don't know if it's Canadian.
Never heard of it. Wow.
Yeah, I've never heard of it. It's 8 issues long. That's all it is. Or 8 pages long. My apologies.
Oh,
That's
wow.
all it is. It's a very short little introduction, and it did not get picked up anything. So, I mean, he made a lot of money. He's still, I'm sure, making money from.
You know what? Good for him, because a lot of people
Yeah.
don't. So, even the ones like, Ed Brubaker, who wrote, was it Civil War and all that, Captain America, that all those movies are based on, he doesn't get shit for any of that because he doesn't own any of those characters. So good on this guy for coming up with an original idea and happening to be at the right place at the right time and making a shit ton of money. And then you get to see your comic that's not even that good be made into into a movie with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. That's insane. I'm trying to jump on this train, by the way. We'll see. If I can, I'm going to try to manifest that to happen.
hey, and I second up. I've enjoyed what your comic has been so far.
Thank you.
I like
appreciate
what you
that.
guys are doing. So
Yeah.
hell yeah. But yeah. So in Men in Black overall, the comic, I see where it came from. Again, the art, it wasn't terrible. It was good. There's some parts where that was fun, and it was a little unique. Like the bug again. If I was reading this for the first time, hadn't seen the movie, the bug alien, I was like, oh, that's cool. He looks like a big praying mantis dude. Like, that's fun. The demon creature that pops out at the end, he at the D&D one, like, that's fun. It just was weird because they don't really seem to be, and maybe if we read the other three, we get a little bit
It'll
more
flesh out the Men in Black
story.
agency or something.
But yeah, like, it's so weird that like these three, like, besides the two main people, like, I don't really find a connection between it at all.
Yeah, I mean, Zed's in it, right? The guy, what's his name?
Yeah. We're not Rip Torn.
Rip Torn.
We're not an intergalactic
kegger. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a, like I said, it's a very interesting read after you've watched the movie for so long. It'd be interesting to have someone read this who hadn't seen the movie and then like judge it like that way. But I've read a lot of comics, a lot of indie comics. I feel like these are pretty solid if you're just picking them off the rack and you kind of want to give something a chance, that's indie. But like, there's not that much here. Especially, I would think issue 2 is probably the strongest issue out of the 3, which is probably why they're like, let's do this one for the movie. Also, because it'd be hard to do one on like illegal immigration or a movie on, Satanic Panic D&D stuff. So it makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm thinking about like what technically the very beginning of the first Men in Black, they're, like you said, they're on the border. They have a little bit of that, but that's more about like the immigration stuff than about like drugs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Like, there, you could see some of the things in the way that they kind of rewrote it and stretched the idea, and then some things they were like,
they did a good job. They did a good job paying homage to the things that were, I guess, interesting to them, or they thought were good lines from the comic, or good story beats. But so they took that stuff out, and then they, put better stuff in the movie for the other parts. Like, that's how you should do it if you're gonna like translate a comic and change stuff around. Take something that has a little bit of promise and like make it better as a movie, rather than taking something that is good and like be like, what would be cool? What if Constantine wasn't British? How about that? Like, not that I don't love, Constantine the movie for what it is and was, but it would be cool to have an actual British John Constantine movie.
It would be, and hopefully we'll get that in the future. We'll see what James Gunn allows in his DCU.
Yeah,
but I did tell you, I looked up the gentleman who wrote the Men in Black movie. His name is Ed Solomon. He wrote it obviously with credit also going to Cunningham, but he also wrote the Bill and Ted movies. He wrote the '90s Super Mario Brother movie.
Oh wow!
And the Now You See Me movies. So he's got like an interesting filmography. Oh, he did write the new Bill and Ted movie. They brought him back. I didn't. That's cool. Okay, so yeah, like he's got some funny, weird stuff under his belt, and then he's got some.
He's got the one big miss, the whiff of of Mario Brothers.
Hey, that movie is a gem. I think that is a that's like that cult classic now, just because of how ridiculous it is.
Sure.
So, I mean, I'm sure that was not, obviously it was, I'm sure, shit on for years, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, of course.
But now he's got people that are like, hey, I love that movie.
For ironic reasons, but
yeah.
Anyway. So John, what would you give this comic? Like, don't think of the movie, push the movie out of your head. Solely on this comic.
Solely on the comic. I will say that this one, even just on the comic basis, I feel like is not enough for it to be as not connected and smooth enough as Batman Hush. So this is going to be the new baseline for me. I'm giving this a 4. I really enjoyed.
No, Batman Hush is the baseline, and you're giving this a 4 based on that.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I'm sorry. Batman Hush is still the base, but this is definitely below the base for me. Like,
okay.
Yeah, I guess I'm just saying, like, now this is definitely my new lowest one.
It's not the lowest one we've done though. I think we did one that was like a 3 or something. I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember. It's been a while. We'll have to double check on that. Well, won't hold me to that. But specifically, like I said, some of the art was fun, and some of the story was fun, but it just didn't have enough connective tissue throughout the story for me to like really be like, oh yeah, like this is like I'm getting into this. Like they're all individual kind of stories, would just happen to be the same 2 main people, and like you said, like the middle one's the strongest one, and the other 2 are okay. Like it's not one that I would if it comes out digitally, I will definitely pay for them, so I have them, so I can go back and maybe I can read the other 3.
Right.
But I don't think I would buy the hardcover.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Well, if they released all of them, like all 6 or whatever, I think there's only 6 of them, into like one graphic novel, I might pick that up just to have it for posterity, for funsies. I don't know why it's been out of print for like 3 years, or I mean, it's for like 30 years, I should say. Cause yeah, you can only get it. I looked on eBay and you can get the actual issues, like all 3 of them, for $130 right now. So that's too much for me, for my blood. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like a novelty. It's kind of like you want to have it just to have it, because if anyone's ever like, oh, is the Men in Black good? You can be like, no, but you should read it, like, because you've seen the movie and it's kind of interesting in that point of view. But yeah, I'm gonna give this one. I might also be like biased because I read this after work, after a very, very couple of hard days at work. So I was very tired, and it took me about like an hour to get through 3 issues of this. So I was like, okay, I don't know if it's just that it's bad writing and I'm falling asleep, or if I'm tired and falling asleep. So I'm gonna give this a 3. I liked it in context of the movie, but as a comic, I was just like, it does nothing for me. Like you said, the 3 issues only have the 2 characters in common. There's not really enough story built up in it about like the world they're in, the agency, exactly what is that. They could have done that. They could have had that stuff like fleshed out in the background. Because they talk to Zed over the radio, like kind of like Charlie's Angels or some shit. But like they don't actually we don't see him. We don't see like what the building looks like inside. That's the coolest part. One of the cool parts of the movie is when Jay finally gets to go into the headquarters and sees like the actual aliens. It's like a big airport, all that kind of stuff. So like that whole thing was pretty fucking cool when I was a kid and I saw it. And I was hoping for that moment in this, and we never got that. So yeah, I was kind of like, I'll say, compared to the movie, I was let down just in, because I'm thinking of the movie while I'm reading this. But as the comic, I still think it's a pretty weak comic. So as the comic, I would place it as a 3. Compared to the movie, I might even go lower than that. But or with that context,
We're trying.
yeah. But like I if this, I mean, maybe the second volume does flesh all that out and it makes the first volume worth reading. I don't know, but I haven't heard anybody talk about it. But the problem is you don't know if that's because it's so limited and hard to get to, like no one can read it because it is not in print or anything, or if it's just no one liked this anyway and it just somehow got made into a movie. So, I'm gonna give it a 3. You give it a 4. What are we reading next week, John, for our comeback from August?
All right, so we're coming back on hiatus. So you, our lucky patrons, are getting to know what we're jumping into right away, although we may have said it before. But you guys, we're going to round out our Ultimates universe, and we're culminating with what was at the time my favorite Ultimates, and so I'm really happy to reread, is the Ultimate Fantastic Four.
Yes, and I was a big fan of this as well. I read it into the 40s, I think I was collecting it. You read it all the way through, right? You've read
I think so. I had 10 or 11 trades of it.
I think that's all there is. Yeah. So
I will say I don't remember as much after the comeback from zombies and stuff, which I know is kind of sad because that's like earlier. That's like 4 or 5, I think. But yeah, I remember liking it a lot. So I'm really excited, to jump back into this. I was enjoying our trip in the Ultimates universe, so I'm excited to finish that. And then
we'll do our poll. I'm not sure what the poll is going to be for this next month, but
yeah, we don't have our poll locked down, but we'll let you guys know, and you guys obviously patrons will be able to vote on that. And then ramping up, we're so excited to get into our spooky month. The following October is always one of our favorites, so
we'll have to figure out. I know that we're going to do The Crow. Either maybe that'll be a Patreon exclusive for the month of October. But yeah, we found The Crow. I haven't been able to find a good copy of The Crow either because that's been out of print. And so we found that on this website too. So that is one we'll surely buy whenever it is back in print, but it's not now and I can't find it for cheap. So so we're going to read that for sure. So look forward to that in October. We'll get back to you guys about what's going to happen in September for our Patreon, but the poll we'll be putting up at the beginning of September as well. And you guys can vote on that. And unless there's something else, I guess we'll see you guys in the next one.
On the next one.
Bye.